All righty, everyone. Hello, and welcome back to Learning with Faith. This is your host, I Stutz. I go by Sachi Ice Cream on a lot of social media. In this episode, you guys do get to hear my lovely husband here. We're gonna interview like this power couple, y'all. So just wait, just hold on, and it's gonna be a interesting episode. Go ahead and tell them who we're gonna interview today.
So we're interviewing a local businessman by the name of Mike Rushin. He's been here in the state of Arkansas all of his life. He's been in the real estate world for a little over 30 years, getting his own firm running, and he is also running for a political office, looking to become a Pulaski County judge. So cast your votes in.
Yeah. And so we're going to be talking about real estate a little bit. We're going to be talking about marriage a little bit. And then, of course, we're going to be talking about politics because if you guys tuned in, last year when the monarch over here was doing those political TikTok lives, it was a lot of fun. It really was. We might get them started soon. I don't know. We kind of took a break because it was getting a little, heated and toxic. As you can imagine, liberals and conservatives, and yeah,
People don't get along.
it was a fun ride while it lasted. Yeah, Mike and his wife here are, amazing people, and we're definitely excited to have our audience hear their love story as well. So, on this episode, we like to talk about, marriage and relationships. So, happy early Father's Day to all of, the fathers out there. And if you're a single mom, I mean, it's kind of your day too, you know. So, yeah. We're gonna get it started. Go ahead and, ask them your first question.
Right, so I guess first question that we're going to ask is what made you decide to go into real estate to get started?
Well, my dad and his parents started Russian Upholstery Supply back in 1962. When I graduated from Rhodes College, I really had no ambitions of working with my dad because, working with family sometimes can be ultimately stressful. But I was trying to figure out where I wanted to go in my career path. I graduated from Rhodes College and had a degree in business administration, a minor in history, and my father had just picked up a large apartment complex to manage. And I said, well, I'll stick around and help you out for a while. And 30 plus years later, here I am. I own the business. It's called Rushin Home now. And so we help people buy and sell homes, but our emphasis is in property management. So we'll help people out with single family homes or small apartment setups. And we've been doing that for quite a long time now. And I think we're pretty good at it.
So yeah, that's always a good thing. It's always, being able to connect with your community, being able to reach your name out in places where you thought that it may or may not go, but then to also, grow in size.
Sorry.
Um,
I'm playing with technology.
so, in all your years of real estate, was there ever a time that you felt like you couldn't get a deal done, but in the end, you ultimately got it done?
There have been, some of the most interesting deals are just you're dealing with people, and each set of people have an idea of what they want to have happen in their transaction. Sometimes you work through it pretty quick and easy. I mean, I think the easiest deal we ever had was the dad was buying a house for his daughter and a new husband, and this was back in the 90s. I think they paid like 90,000 cash and closed in 10 days. So it's just boom, 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 done and easy. And then you have some that just, things come up, things happen. One of my mentors from the state of Oklahoma, he used to be big into real estate. And he told me one time he had a $500,000 deal working, and they were bouncing back and forth, offer, counter offer, negotiating. They got down to $5,000 difference, and everybody buried their feet in the ground. And he went to his client, the seller, and says, well, congratulations, you bought your house for $5,000. He's like, what are you talking about? He said, all this is one little thing, and you've got yourself so emotional about it, you're making a poor decision. Step away from the emotion, look at it. Got the deal closed. So I always tell people the biggest thing you need to do as a buyer or a seller is keep the emotions out of it. It clouds the judgment. It makes you make poor decisions sometimes. You can be so close that you just can't see the forest for the trees because you get so wired up on one little thing that when you take a step back, you go, oh, we can work this out. So again, every situation is so unique because you got so many moving parts. And one of the good things about us as agents and brokers, if you're good at what you do, you can help people maneuver through those headaches to help them get to where they want to be based on your previous experience with them.
I definitely get that because I'm a very unemotional person. I've been told.
Yeah.
Right.
I can compartmentalize very well myself.
So, going with that, with a grain of salt, have you ever come across any violent situations, either showing a house or maybe a deal wasn't going the right way for a buyer? Maybe well, if you don't get me what I want, there's going to be a problem, or because I do understand, in the real estate world, especially for the real estaters that are there showing homes, you do put yourself in a bit of a vulnerable situation. You don't know who's coming there. You don't know if they've got a gun or if they've got a
Right.
weapon or what their intentions are, or if they're looking to case the joint and take you hostage with
Right.
it. Yeah,
realtor safety has become a big item over the last just few years.
Oh, yeah.
There was an agent a few years ago that went to go show a house and she was abducted and later on she was deceased. And so that is a big concern because you can end up being one-on-one or one on whoever, because like you said, you don't know sometimes if the people showing up or who they say they're going to be.
Yeah.
So we do have in our listings now, we put the safety items in there. Is the house vacant? Are the utilities on? Hence, don't go show it at night because you don't have any lights, stuff like that.
Yeah.
In terms of my personal career, I've never had anything on a sales side or a buyer side that ever broke down that bad. In property management, sometimes you do have those scenarios come up. Like in the 90s, we picked up 108 units in Southwest Little Rock for a client, and it was infested with Crips. And so we had to
Oh,
work
wow.
with local PD, local fire department to go in there, find out who are the good renters, who are the troublemakers. Some people did go to prison, but they should have. They were drug dealers. They were getting these kids off the buses and trying to turn them into drug dealers. And it was just a real bad mess. And
Wow.
we worked hand in hand with local authorities, and it got heated a couple of times. But I'll say this much: my father and I, we never carried a firearm, and the police were kind of surprised by that. But we have the ability to talk to people rationally and get away from the emotion of it and just say, look, you're 4 months behind,
Or you're 2 months behind.
or whatever the case may be. And back then, you go case by case, and we got a reputation for being firm but fair. And so we would start getting hired to fix other projects that were having similar problems.
Okay.
And some people will be repeat offenders.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Dad told me one time he went into a duplex off of Barrel Road and went and sat down with a lady in there, and two big guys walked in, and he noticed that she had a pistol underneath the cushion, but visible. And Dad was talking to her about her account, and another gentleman walked in who was one we had moved out from a different property and actually vouched for my father and said, Mr. Rushin is firm, but he's fair. So you guys just relax. And he said the lady took the firearm, put it in her purse, and they got done talking business. So yeah, we've never had anything physical ever happen though. So we've been very blessed in that. But yeah, realtor safety is a big deal, and we are really hammering that home in all of our training to make sure that we're being extra careful because we do live in a very unique world. And especially these last decade or two, we're dealing with mental health issues, trying to identify those problems. And there's just some people that can't help themselves because they have an undiagnosed mental condition.
Yeah.
And then there's just some bad people, like there's just some good people.
Mhm.
And so we've been very blessed. We haven't come up on anything that ever got to the point of being physical or the point we felt like we were truly threatened.
I remember like whenever I had to do like continuing education and when I was a realtor, they would tell us, always look at where all the exits are when you're in our house. Don't get, in a corner, make sure where you're at.
Right.
So they give you tips for as a realtor, but you can never like muscle memory is what they always say.
Right.
And so like that's why whenever my husband and his dad they do those like home invasion trainings at home, sometimes it's because he's an ex-Marine, but two because it's muscle memory. Like
Right.
one, it's at the heat of a moment, you don't really know what you're gonna do, but if you have that muscle memory, you're more likely to like survive or be able to
The
do what you
closest I
said.
ever got to I got scared one time. I was driving down those properties I told you about, and there was a unit, the door was open, and I knew it was vacant. So I stopped the car. And anytime I go into any property, if I don't know anybody's there, I holler out my name. Mike Rushin, property manager, real loud. So they know I've identified who's coming in the door just in case. So I noticed the bathroom light was on. It's a little one-bedroom apartment. So I went in there and I looked in the door. and I saw a tub full of water with clothes in it. And I took a step in, and there was a really small fella right behind the door. I mean, he couldn't have weighed 100 pounds soaking wet. And I caught him in my peripheral, and it scared me. So I just reacted. I hit the door on my forearm. He's like, Mr. I was like, who are you? What are you doing in here? I'm just trying to wash my clothes. I said, well, wash your clothes and get out of here.
Scared me out.
But I wasn't going to call the police on him. He wasn't threatening him like that. I said,
Yeah.
look, dude, you just can't do that. I get what you're doing, but you just can't do that. So get your stuff together.
Yeah.
Let's call it, have a good day. Let me lock the door.
Oh yeah. I mean, what about squatters? I know, I mean, and this is
That's
a
maybe
big
that's
problem.
Well,
You know.
squatters, that's
Have you guys had any altercations with squatters or anything?
I don't know if we've had any just over the top problems. It's just the thing that sometimes for whatever reason.
Differently.
Yeah.
I'm very, very, very careful.
Yeah.
I take it full advantage of
Yeah. So we just have to, take each case by case
resources.
basis. What's the scenario? Uh, in your terminology of squatters, is it someone who stopped paying the rent? They're basically trying to live for free, or is it someone just moved in without authorization?
Yeah.
Those are easier to deal with because they know they've messed up. And if
Yeah.
you go over and just confront them, honestly, I don't think I've ever called the police on somebody who was just in a unit. I said, look, you guys know you can't be here. You just need to go.
Yeah.
I'm not here to get you in trouble, but you can't do this. I
Yeah.
can't allow this to happen. And they go, that fair enough, and they move on. I don't know that I've ever run anything that we couldn't handle properly the legal route.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are hard-headed. They don't want to move and they think they're entitled to free rent or whatever. And then they have to learn the lesson the hard way. We try to educate people. Say,
Yeah.
look, here's how you do it not to get in trouble. Or if you're behind or whatever, here's how we get you to the finish line so you can turn this thing around
Yeah.
and start having a chance to get ahead of the game instead of behind it. And there's just sometimes where you get it, where you've worked with people and work with people and there's just no finish line. And so you have a sit down with them like adults and say, look, we're not getting there. The owner's been very patient.
we can't
My
keep
fiduciary
it.
responsibilities to them. We just need to cut our losses here. You need to make a move. Now, if you're smart, come to me after you move. Let's work out a payment plan and get the debt square. Because what you can do then is take that negative and turn it to a positive. So if you were to call me as a landlord, say, I'm asking you about Joe Smith. I'm going to be honest with you. Joe Smith was with us for 2 years. He's been behind for a month, for 4 months. He keeps trying, but he did come in and square the debt. For guys like me and ladies that are in this business, that's character. That's good character. That means you took the time to say, you know what, I do owe the debt and I paid it. Okay. In this business, 99% of the people just go and come get me if you're going to get me. I've seen it for 30 years. But there are a few folks that actually listen to you, listen to the intelligence, and they come back and they make the account right. Now I can say, yes, Joe Smith was this and this and this, but he did come in and square the debt. So yes, I would give him another chance as a potential renter because he showed me at the end of the day he had good character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we have things that happen. Your car breaks down, your kid gets sick, you lose your job, whatever the case may be that causes you to get behind. But it doesn't mean you're the person who's just trying to be behind. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Right.
So we try to work with everybody to get them a good game plan so they can be successful.
And I'm
Yeah.
sure they appreciate that because I know
Yeah.
not all people are that,
It's a
that
beautiful book of
lenient.
business is what I tell him. I came in just to be an account executive and to convert his database up here into a real database and build the database so that it could be, when he is elected, it can be ran without error. And it doesn't have to connect the dots in his head. And
So
so,
what you're saying is she knows I'm going to be busy. She's going to be calling me all the time. Tell me about this unit, what's going on? And I'll be like, now they have it all in the database that they can just click, 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 and you got it done.
That is a good question though. So like whenever let's foreshadow, you do win.
yeah.
Whenever you take that position, are you just gonna like hire more people to like maintain your businesses, or are you gonna allocate your, how are you gonna allocate your current business?
Absolutely. It's a great question. When I took over my dad was semi-retired for like 20 years. And so I took over officially in 21. And so I ran it by myself. I just realized if I just work hard, I can get everything done, take care of my owners firsthand, because I always pride myself on if there was ever an issue, My clients would never hear me say, "Oh, my secretary didn't do something right," or "This guy didn't do." The buck stops here, kind of
Right.
mentality. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But when we decided to run for office, I said, "Okay, got to start planning for the future because I play to win. I don't ever do anything just to come in second. Like Ricky Bobby said, if you ain't, first, you last." But my girlfriend at the time then became my fiance, came on board because she's smarter than I am. That's the whole trick. She graduated high school 2 years, college in 2 years, is just a brilliant individual. And so she came in to help me with some projects. And then my son graduated from UCA. He wants to be a sports journalist, but I told him, listen, you need to learn how this business runs just in case you own it one day. You want to hire somebody, at least you know what you're running.
Right.
And so he started to come in, has really got in depth with it.
He's
And
good.
and I still encourage him to go be a sportscaster. I told, and my daughter, she graduated from William and Mary with a master's in American Studies. And I said, I want you to be successful in whatever it is you want to do, whatever you're passionate about. If you can do that, make a living, you're a blessed person. But we do have the things in place. The new database she brought in, we have got
It's
everything
terrible.
Yeah,
It's
it is
terrible.
streamlined.
Before it was like, I mean, and the book of business itself, it's 99% occupied. And we're looking at what, 180 properties?
Something like that. You say we had 86% of our renters have been with us 5 years or longer.
They've been within for well over 5 years, and that's unheard of this day and time. And the database itself is error proof. I mean, it will not let you make a mistake. And so instead of having this brain here, we have the database, and Zach's very, very comfortable with it. Of course, he's 23 years old, so this
Well,
makes perfect sense to him.
and the nice thing is that with one, I'll still own the business. I'll still be the principal broker, and they'll still refer to me if anything they got to get answered. But today's technology, you're a click away from
Yeah.
having an answer. So
Yeah.
even when I'm working on projects for the county and getting that thing going in the right direction, if something comes up, all I can do, hey, I need to double check this information. I go click, 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 and say, here's the answer. And we just streamline and keep moving forward.
Yeah.
That's pretty valuable.
Yeah.
That's good that you guys have that, because I mean, a lot of the times, a lot of companies they don't use technology for in their, to their advantage.
Right.
But that's good that you do.
Definitely.
So, going forward with that, is what advice can you give to, I guess, newer people getting out in the real estate world as far as safety principles, resources that they can contact? Because, not every agency or firm has those resources to educate people on, real estate safety 101, what to do if you get in a bad situation, who do you call, what are your rights?
Right.
If something went to court because you as an individual had to protect yourself.
Right.
I mean, what simplistic advice could you give to young realtors that are getting out
Join the
there?
Landlords Association.
Well, that doesn't hurt. I would start with, I mean, yeah. The first thing that I've always heard on the street, and my dad taught me, and anybody would listen, I tell them, if you're just getting into real estate, unless you have a client base already well established, don't quit your day job. Usually the first year, if you're doing just sales, usually the first year is kind of your barometer if you're going to make a career out of this or not. Because you've got to build that reputation. You've got to build, my dad never wanted to deal with agents because he didn't want to deal with a headache. But I've got one agent right now. And so I train him personally. So when he has issues come up, we go and walk through it together. I give him that one-on-one service. Now, unlike the large corporations, I don't charge fees for this and fees for that. So if you come to work with us, you got to earn it because I don't have the huge pile of listings for sale or the buyers knocking the door down. But we have loyal clients, referral business is strong. People know that when they come to Rushin Home, they're getting my services, whether it's my name, whether it's an account manager, whether it's the other agent. They know that I'm going to be there hand in hand, walking it through the process to make sure it's done correctly. So everybody gets where they need to be and everybody's a winner at the end of the day.
So if you're just starting out, give us a call.
Yeah. Speaking of which, well, no, I did real estate for about 3 years. I started out just interpreting, 'cause, during COVID time, interest rates were like 2-3%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It was not an awesome time for a realtor.
I tell you, that COVID mess, I guessed at it wrong. When that first started, I'm a very conservative minded fella. So I'm not going to blow your money if I represent you on the rental or whatever. We're going to have a nice product, but we're not going over the top. So I thought it'd be like, when it's a hard winter, people tend to don't want to sell and move because they want to hibernate. No
Yeah.
one wants to get out in 30-degree weather trying to load a
Yeah.
truck,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So I thought when COVID happened, everybody would belly up like it's a hard winter. Total opposite.
It was total, yeah.
Total opposite.
Everybody thought there would never be another house built. There'd
Yeah.
never be another apartment available.
They all wanted to spread out into single unit places because of the 6-foot rule. To be an apartment.
Yeah.
And the rates went for sales figures and rental figures, they went through the roof.
Oh yeah.
It made no sense to me. It's all about supply and demand, but it was really a mirage.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, why are you? Because I tell anybody I work with, look, I'll sell you anything you want to buy. I'm going to give you my honest opinion though, because again, I'm conservative. If what we're seeing is a bubble, let's call it the COVID bubble, and you're paying 50,000 more than it's worth,
Yeah.
and that bubble bursts in a few years, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
Especially if you have to, let's say you did a 3-year arm on a 20-year mortgage, it's time to update the 3-year arm. And oh, by the way, your equity position is 20,000 less than what you paid. And the bank says, well, we'll redo it, but we got to have 20 grand in cash.
Yeah.
That's a whole 2008 starting over again, but a different setup, right?
Mhm.
Those were back then. That's when the bankers were taking advantage, and the buyers are going, "Oh, no better." And then all of a sudden, their rate went from this to this. Their payment went from 1,000 to 3,000. Foreclosure started coming.
Yeah.
So I'm again conservative guy, worst case thinker, and I would tell my buyers, okay, I'm just showing you historically this is what the house is worth. You're going to have to pay this because that's what the market's doing now.
Yeah.
Just be mindful. I don't want to do the I told you so. I just want you to be careful.
Yeah.
Because if I'm right and this burst, I don't want you being in trouble.
Right.
But again, that's just, again, it's the lay of the land. Now you've seen rates start to come back in terms
Yeah.
of sales figures, and rent rates have settled a little bit. They're still a little elevated, but they've settled because the market has changed back to more normal market.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting time.
It definitely was, especially me barely getting my, feet wet in real estate. It was insane. I saw from 3% all the way to like 7 and 8, and I'm like, that's so crazy, just in like a year,
Yeah.
like a year span. I was like, wow.
Well, the hardest thing too, I called it the COVID hangover, was working with especially sellers after the phenomenon was over. We had one property listed for $750,000, and I was like, that COVID money's gone.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and I was doing the math. I said, man, you're not worth more than 600 tops.
Yeah.
So we come down, finally come down, finally come down, finally. We did a year, and they ended up selling to a friend, and it was below 6. And I was just like,
Told you that in the beginning.
yeah, it's just one of those things. And again, you get to the point where you get spoiled, right? You're like seeing these huge numbers. I'm going to make me a big number on my house, but you got to know the lay of the land.
Yeah.
And the market has shifted again. And people just had to realize the seller's market's over. It's more balanced again.
It was for a while. It was a good time for sellers.
I tell you a funny joke. My sister was selling her house. I listed it for her. She goes, I know it's not worth more than 125. And that's when the madness was going. And I said, oh, okay, whatever. So I listed for 139.9. Within 1 hour, I had a phone call. What's it going to take to get off the market? If I give you 140 cash, will you take it? And I was driving my car, and I was like, well, what did I list it for? I can't remember. I thought I was thinking it was 129. Oh, he had a list for 139. I said, you want to pay me 140 cash? Yeah, that's exactly right. Sold. So I called my sister. I said, hey, you remember that you said your house wasn't worth more than 125,000? Yeah. Do I get to keep the extra 15 as a bonus? I can get my bonus check.
See,
I think she went to Jamaica for a holiday after she closed that deal.
See, I remember my ex-broker, he would say, always charge family more. He would tell us because they're so close because they're your family. They're gonna be texting you like off the bat more than the average client,
Right.
And so he would always tell us, and I remember that, always charge your family more.
Right. No, it worked out really well. And yeah, family can be interesting. I do like working with family. And so, yeah, it's just one of those deals. Every situation is unique. And, but yeah, I love working with my family, my friends, and the business we've done over the years. My dad was all big on about making relationships. That was one of the downsides with the bigger companies, is that, especially if you're just doing sales, if you're just a sales agent, you live and die by the closing. You gotta close or you don't eat. In the property management business, I used to tell people, hey, we're gonna have a hamburger every night. If we sell you a house, we're gonna have a steak one night. And
Yeah.
so, but dad always believed in making personal relationships. I always used to say, look, if you come work with us, you're never going to be a number. You're going to be a person, and we want to be your friend from years on. And then you come back to us and say, hey, good to see you again. Thanks for helping me out 20 years ago, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that's what, I mean, any business would say, building relationships is like the key
Yeah.
of having a successful, business.
Well,
Let's,
so, kind of shifting more towards that, so everybody, believe it or not, Mr. Mike Rushin is a new candidate this year for Pulaski County Circuit Judge. So,
No, it's county judge.
County judge.
yeah.
Yeah, I tell you what,
Even bigger.
it's been interesting because, the county judge is a misnomer. It's the head of the quorum court, which is the governing body. And so it's not a true judicial position. So it's really like being the CEO. It's like you have a mayor of Little Rock. It's like being the mayor of Pulaski County.
Right.
So that's
a lot of responsibility.
absolutely it is. And I have spent 30 years obviously doing real estate management. I have spent 30 years doing nonprofit leadership, everything from local stuff all the way to international boards of directors. And when we decided to do something for the public good, we were like, okay, where does my skill set best match? And so we thought that this position is similar to what I do in the management side. It's just a different beast, but the same skills will be employed.
Yeah.
So like I didn't run for state house because I figured I've never written legislation.
Yeah.
So if I were to get elected, I'd be playing from behind the whole time. What am I
Yeah.
supposed to do? Where am I supposed to sit? What am I supposed to say?
But
At least with this job, I can know how to work.
and the four numbers, his son asked him, the reason why he ran was his son asked him the question, the hard question, Dad, why should I stay here? He graduated from UCA, and the question is, why should I stay in Pulaski County when Faulkner County and Saline County, like we talked about earlier, are booming?
Mhm.
And people from New York or Oregon, they're thinking here to move here in their businesses. They're going to choose to go 20 minutes away right now to a county that's borders Pulaski County, the capital county, instead of Pulaski County, because they've grown 65%. The school districts are great. Public safety is great. And
I think Pulaski County is trudging along at 10% growth.
Yeah.
So we're being outpaced by our neighbors.
Yeah.
and we're the capital county.
Right.
Mhm.
So he's like, my skill set fits right here. So we decided together, it was a passion that came from heaven above,
Right.
divine design. It's not like you're over 50 years old and you said, hey, I'm going to run for office.
I don't want the stress of my life.
Well,
It's from up above.
it honestly, in my opinion, I think it comes at a great deal and a great expensive time, at the right time, because we're in such a shift with everything. There are issues with Faulkner and Saline County that Pulaski does not have. We are the leading liquor county because we are the largest county that can sell liquor anywhere. And it's not just restaurants, it's in bars, it's in hotels. You can go right off a river market and run into like 20 bars.
Right.
And they're of all different shapes, sizes, diversities, and prices.
Right.
But a lot of people don't understand, with the Federal Alcohol Commission, the ABC group, the FDA, the CDC, they all have, their ties here.
Right.
Right.
Now, you leave here, you're going to go to Faulkner, no liquor. You're going to go to Saline, Dad, they got liquor, but it's not like here. And you're going to go to Lonoke, nope, dry. You're going to go to Independence County, dry. It just gets drier the more north you go. But that's not where the problem lies. It does come to a community thing. We need people in political power to do the right thing.
Correct.
Right.
Because I believe that's where because I will include myself in it because I've grown up here for so long. I used to say, I hate Arkansas. I hate being here.
Mhm.
My parents came out here, they divorced, and I always kind of blamed it on here. But then when I came around to seeing exactly how good Arkansas has been to us, individually, even before we ever knew each other, that is the one issue that I have noticed, because, as I was telling y'all earlier, we have been part of other chambers, and we're now with, the North Little Rock and looking at being in the Little Rock
Yeah,
chambers
shout out to
again.
Keith. You really helped us.
The one thing that we do a lot of is local community outreach.
Mhm.
I run my own taxi service, which is called 343 Transport. So I'm out on these streets day and or night.
Mhm.
So, I've seen the absolute most beautiful parts of Pulaski County, and I've seen the absolute
Work.
ugliest. And the one
Yeah.
common denominator is that there doesn't seem to be anybody in political power that seems to care.
Right.
They're like, if it turns into a ghetto, it turns into a ghetto. I'm like, no, that's why people are failing. Our
Mhm.
education has failed. Our youth, our legislation, and our police enforcement, it has failed.
That's exactly
Because
the message.
I mean, look at the average rate per year in Arkansas as a whole alone is less than 32% of young males and young women are going to graduate high school.
Mhm.
It drops to 21%
Wow.
that will actually go to college or a trade school or do something productive in the community. In Pulaski County alone, it drops to 14%.
Right.
Mhm.
That is not okay.
Well,
So-
you look at Pulaski County and you could list all the advantages of this county on a piece of paper. But again, young people and let's say they're starting their family, their career, they're planting their flag at somewhere else.
Yeah.
We've got to make the county more.
They just work here, but they don't live here.
Right. We've
Yeah.
got to make the county more desirable for people to live here. So one thing we're working on, I'm watching the state of Florida right now. There is legislation going through their state house that passed the House like 80-30, 80 votes to 30. And it's about eliminating real estate tax for owner occupied homes.
Mhm.
Oh.
And so we're watching that to see how that develops out. Because I've also looked at how can we reduce the obligation of a taxpayer if they don't need to pay more than they need to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
My biggest concern on that, if we did a stair-step process, like our legislature has been dropping that tax just a little bit at a time, and I know what they're doing. Let's drop it a little bit and see what happens. Okay, we're good. Let's drop it a little bit more, see what happens. So I thought if we go this route, let's start with our senior citizens. My grandfather had Alzheimer's. My dad's mood swings got really bad when he got old. And so I'm thinking to myself, well, we had a good family unit to protect them. But let's say that there's a lot of people that don't have that.
Mhm.
And if they forget, let's say they worked at the railroad for 30 years and they paid the mortgage off. Now they're 77 years old and dementia's starting to get them. And they forget to pay the real estate tax.
Do you think
In 5 years, somebody is going to go, I own this house now for $10,000. You need to move.
Mhm.
That's not right.
Yeah.
that's elder abuse?
That's elder
Yeah.
abuse, and we need to protect our citizens. If you're a taxpayer in any county, you deserve representation. It doesn't matter if you vote blue or red, it doesn't matter if you're black or white, rich or poor. I don't care where you live. If you pay your tax, you deserve to be represented. And so those are one of the things that we're looking at to see if we can help. Because think about it. If we could get to the point in our budget, let's say let's theoretically, we could eliminate all real estate tax in Pulaski County. Boy, wouldn't that be a good thing for the
People-
chamber?
Oh.
Move to Pulaski County because you don't have any real estate tax. All of a sudden you see us boom.
Look at how it is in Miller County, in Texarkana, they're a border city.
Mhm.
They have adapted Texas laws to Texarkana, Arkansas.
Right.
So like you do not pay state income tax in Miller County or Texarkana.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So like, imagine adapting, take away the real estate tax,
Mm.
bring back the numbers back down
Right.
to help, new
Mhm.
buyers. Cause like when we bought our house here, I got stuck at 10.6%.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now
We're
my
gonna-
bank said, all right, well,
Well,
wait 6
refinance.
months. We can then refinance you at 5.5 to 6.5%. But that's where you were talking earlier, where that boom kind of stayed and it stayed high.
Mhm.
And it's still like not coming quite down yet because I believe a lot of grievance came into play with some firms and agencies because they're like, oh, well, we've been making money off these people since 2020 when COVID hit. So let's
let's see how far we can stretch it out. But then there's been others that's like, no, we got to really get with the times, get with the program.
Right.
This is robbing people blind.
Well, it's like
You
one
know?
thing, it's kind of like, the premise of buying and selling a home. It's what somebody wants to sell it for and so what someone willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
And when everything did get elevated, probably these corporations and lenders or whoever were like, okay, we haven't seen a revolt yet.
Yeah.
People are still buying and still doing, so maybe we come down just a bit, but we can make more money. I mean, they're in business making money. And if the market is allowing that, which means the buyers are still, using those products and are paying those elevated deals, they're going to keep them high.
Oh,
When's the last time you ever say, hey, we're going to go backwards here
yeah.
and, drop this way down and
Let's
not
stop
make as
making
much
so
money?
money.
I know, right?
Nobody says that.
Right. So, but yeah, those are things that have been Pulaski County. We're looking to see what can we do, because I have spent a life in service.
Mhm.
A year and a half ago, whatever, when the tornado came through north central Arkansas, we hooked up the barbecue smoker and went up to Cushman and Melbourne, and we fed about 800 people because we had the time, talent, resources to do something that made sense. And that's what we're trying to do with this county is come in here, get this thing moving in the right direction, get our budget tighter, make sure that every citizen is getting what they're supposed to be getting from their county government. We want this to be Pulaski's growing by 50, 60%,
Yeah.
like our suburban neighbors,
Right.
Yeah.
not the other way around.
Everyone, I mean, and not only that, whenever people like want to move there, then
Yeah.
like I was looking at some county, like some Conway houses, they're like more expensive than some houses here, and it's because people want to move
It's the
there.
market. It's absolutely the
Like,
market.
But once upon a time ago, Pulaski was the boom.
Right.
It's time
Yeah.
to
And
bring
it's
the
still
boom
the
back.
capital
Right.
city.
Yeah.
Q, was that POD, Q up, here comes the boom, or the song boom.
Here
Yeah.
comes
Here
the
comes the boom. All I remember from the fat guy, Kevin
Yeah.
James, the
Yeah,
MMA wrestling.
I remember that. Yeah, I know.
I mean, that boom, I think, needs to happen now more than ever.
It
Sure.
does.
We've had so many advancements across Little Rock just alone. Like, look at how Chenal blew up.
Right.
Chenal Parkway was never that big. It was never that fancy. They have the promenade where they moved some of the more
Mhm.
exquisite stores, like the Apple stores, some of these bigger brand names, the AMC Theater. It's like its own little like township.
Community.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's like whenever I've talked to a lot of locals, it's like they don't consider Chenal to be part of Little Rock when it is.
Right.
Part of Pulaski County. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
the entire county, it encompasses, Jacksonville,
Mm.
North Little Rock, Sherwood, Little Rock.
Maumelle,
Maumelle.
Pikesville, College Station.
Parts of Cabot, the outskirts of
Yeah.
Cabot are part of Pulaski
Right,
County.
right,
Exactly.
right.
That fine line between Lonoke and Pulaski, it's really thin.
Right, exactly.
But because of the alcohol commission and everything here, that has actually brought a lot of more youth here because they don't want to be in a place where they can only party till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. But then you then run into I wouldn't say the crime rate, but the discrepancies with local law enforcement having to step up more. Because I know Sherwood has had to step up a lot. I know Jacksonville has picked up a lot.
Mhm.
And it's not necessarily violent crimes, but it is domestic crimes from alcohol. So it's a bit of a you win, you lose kind of situation. But the one thing that I have seen is
He's like,
Simmons, I believe, has been one of the biggest promotions for Pulaski County because they're sponsoring events everywhere. They own the Simmons Bank Arena now. That's brought in a lot of big name music artists, big events like Monster Jam. Disney on Ice was just here like a month or so ago.
Yeah, shout out to Simmons. They're one of our sponsors.
There you go.
But I guess my question would be, you're now elected. You are now in office. You are now in this seat of power. What is honestly the first 3 things that you hope to accomplish in your first year?
Well, I want to do a 90-day review of all county operations. I want to make sure that we're running things efficiently and effectively for our citizens, our budget. I want to make sure we go through all those processes to get things moving in the right direction. Because we've had, obviously, the issues have come up about budget, and there was a story in the news today about the comptroller and $4 million and all this other stuff to a company, and was it justified, blah, blah, blah.
So first thing is to untangle what's there
Right,
and make it transparent and make it easy to digest for everyone.
right.
Not just the inside elite that are responsible for this. We want to make it easy to understand for everybody out there. We want to start putting stuff out there. For instance, his Chamber of Commerce that you guys were at, North Little Rock Chamber of Commerce, all of the Q&As we put out there after we did them
Yeah.
because we wanted him to be prepared with 2-minute or under answers so he could give the people the most for their what they
Well, what she's really saying is there's not a Russian on this earth that doesn't talk way too much. And keeping me under 2 minutes is not feasible. So we sat down and said, all right, you need to stay on point, get these things done, because they did give both candidates the questions early.
Uh-huh.
And I wanted to give concise answers with the,
Yeah.
I like to call them meat and potatoes.
Yeah.
with the
That-
most information.
Right,
This
right.
was a job interview. That was the first Q&A that we've had with his opponent. And it's very early in the cycle. So it's usually something that doesn't happen this early in the cycle. So we wanted to give the constituents out there the opportunity to see completely what they're getting with him.
Mhm.
Yeah, the
This
depth
was
of
what-
thought, the think through the problem, not just hit the
'Cause it was-
talking points.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we have our own little anagram. We're going to bring integrity. We're going to believe in communication wholeheartedly. We're going to
Unity.
go, the big thing is unity. We're going to sit down and invite the mayors and other local leaders and entities to come together, maybe quarterly, to talk about how we can take the tax dollar, even though it's whacked up in all these different pots, how we can put that dollar back together and help people. And then the last one is stability. We're going to bring stable leadership. So our anagram is I see us. You know, we're going to make sure we run a stable government that's transparent. We're going to develop a public dashboard. We're going to have quarterly budget meetings, and we're going to make it plain English.
So there's
we're not
not
gonna
an
put-
emergency.
Yeah, we're not
Yeah.
going to put anything out there that you have to hire a lawyer and accountant to read.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to I like keeping things simple. And when I sit down, I'm looking at the budget now. We've been analyzing the budget, and I'm trying to establish a meeting with the treasurer's office. I want to go through those line items. Okay, what does this really mean?
Mhm.
It's a general line item, but what does it really mean? What comes under that? And people, I think, if they look at it, they probably see what I see, which is, okay, I see it, but I don't really know what that is.
Yeah.
We want to make sure our constituents know what it is. And so we're going to be very transparent. We're going to, like I said, we've got to get in there because you're going to have a change of administration after a decade with one administration. And we look forward to working with that administration to make sure we have a seamless transition. And we want to make sure that there's no drop off in services. You know, when we go into office, it's wintertime. And this last winter, one of the biggest complaints we saw on social media was when the ice came,
Mhm.
you know, the unincorporated areas didn't seem to be getting the response for like road and bridge clearance. Well, we need to address that real quick
Yeah.
and make sure, are we prepared? Because let's face it, in Little Rock, you're going to get 3 to 7 days usually of winter weather that's
Yeah.
going to impact you greatly. The last time we had a major problem was the ice storm of 2000 when we were knocked out for it seemed like 2 weeks to a month.
Right.
And but usually it's 3 days to 7 days where you have driving problems and things of that nature.
Oh yeah, it's way shorter than Russellville. Russellville, they were gone, like kids were out of school for like a whole week.
Right, right.
And then whenever we moved, I looked at it was a couple of days over here. Like it wasn't a whole week.
It wasn't. And the practicality of this is, you think, well, we can manage for 3, 5, 7 days. But the problem with that is emergency services.
Right.
You have women that are having babies. You have people that are having cardiovascular issues. You have
Strokes and heart
strokes
attacks.
and heart attacks. So those are the things, the practical things that we have the ability to look at. We're not so worried about this job is not glamorous. It's not about
Yeah, working on stuff like this infrastructure is not glamorous, but that's where the test of leadership really is seen.
right.
And we're going to lead from the front. I was asked a question last year. This was our first Q&A this last week since the primary.
Right.
But we had one Q&A and they asked about disasters. What is your leadership style? And I said, I lead from the front.
Yeah.
I'm on the ground.
We'll be out there.
We'll be out there with a barbecue smoker for sure. And I'll be letting the people who run our divisions of county government do their job. And I'll be there to support them. If they need something done, I'm going to pick the phone up and call the right people and say, hey, we need to get this done this way and get it done now.
Yeah.
And while we're feeding people and trying to take a little bit of their stress off for a while, but I lead from the front. So
Yeah.
we'll be on the ground.
And with
Absolutely.
with very much a problem solving
Right.
mentality, not I'm not to say that everybody's got different leadership style, but he and I don't look at anything like, oh my gosh. It's always like, okay, let's sit down and see how we can untangle this and figure this out, make it good for everybody.
I like to tell people, think through the problem. Even in my rental business, when they call me with a problem, I said, let's think through the problem. Did you check your breaker? Did you check your air filter? Did you check? Did you check?
Yeah.
And if you did all that, let's get the pro out there and double check everything, get it right. So I do like creative problem solving with people to find positive solutions to our problems.
That's good. That's good.
I believe, you know, that honestly is probably it's gonna be one of my next big questions was about, you know, emergency relief. Because, you know, coming from someone who spent a lot of time in the firefighting field, you know, time is of the essence.
Right.
I need to be able to get to where I need to go. I need to be able to help who I need to help. And at that point in time, nothing else matters.
Right.
I could be having an elderly woman having a stroke inside of a nursing home. Your kid could have just fell and broke their arm, or even worse, they're stuck up somewhere.
Right.
And I have to find a way to get them down, you know, without putting them in more injury than what they already were. You know, and at that point in time, our winter weather gets bad here. When it hits, it's bad.
Yeah.
This last
And we're
go
not
around,
used to it, and then everybody doesn't know how to handle it because they're not used to it.
I'm telling you, like, I had this conversation with some people on some other chambers and a few other conferences. This last winter we just had, we had covered roads for like a week and a half.
Okay.
Lots of black ice, a lot of sleet that wound up sticking, and I got stuck like 3 times.
Yeah.
And they were in areas, one where there was a lot of gang activity. There was a lot of people who didn't already have power because power was knocked out.
Right.
There was no feasible way anybody could assist me, as well as the many others who got stuck down there. So we all had to like try to help and push each other out and work together. But a lot of that could have been prevention had we had the right resources in the right places, because it's easy to have these snowplow trucks and stuff hit these main interstates and main roads, but you've got so many people that live inner city.
Right.
And the problem with that is these are all hilled areas.
Right.
They're at an incline. Like you go over to Green Mountain, you're not getting out in the ice and snow. You'll slide right down the mountain. And you know, worst come to shove, I mean, you could either get hurt or possibly lose your life trying to just leave your apartment.
Yeah, my gut feeling is that they probably work from the main arteries down to let's call them the capillaries.
Mhm.
And so that's probably what their mentality has been.
And one of the things, not to go back in the conversation, but one of the things that we've not had is our county employees, that they don't have spousal insurance.
They
Right.
don't.
They don't. And when you don't have spousal insurance on that kind of generation of younger people that are having babies, they're going to ultimately go to other departments instead of staying here in Pulaski County. So one of the things that we definitely are going to be looking at, he's going to be looking at immediately, is getting in the budget the ability for them to have spousal insurance, because we can't keep and train and retain people, and that's costing us a lot of money by not being able to keep and retain good, educated, qualified people, because they're moving to other departments because they're having babies and they don't have $10,000-$20,000 to pay out of pocket for their wife or to have children.
So we're going to get quotes on self-funded and fully insured health and plans. And once we get all the data together, we're going to reach out to the 1,200 employees. Say, here's our, let's say 2 options. Which way do you want to go? Because we have to make sure, because talking to some people, I always talk to people in the field, like sheriff's deputies and so forth. And one guy told me, he goes, the guys that have been around 10, 15, 20 years, we're used to it. We're just going to work it out until we retire. But he's saying that the younger generation in this department, they may get trained, they may get ready to go, but then they found out, oh, wait, we don't have spousal insurance in our benefits package. And they start looking at other counties. They start looking at other departments. Where can I go to take care of my family? Because I mean, the pay rate's not great. So let's be clear about that.
We're gonna be looking at that too.
Yeah. one of the things we're definitely gonna do is we're gonna have to sit down with the sheriff and say, what do you need? Let's work together and see what we need to do as a county to help you make sure our streets are safe, that we have good qualified deputies in the field, we got good people in the detention center and so forth and so on.
And we
Again,
did-
communication. We need to sit down, and I've
Yeah.
already met with the sheriff a few months ago. So we are going to sit down and you're going to educate me on what it is you need. I'll go with and work with the quorum court and see if we can't get these issues resolved. And so, that's the biggest thing is I thought is we got to get spousal insurance for all of Pulaski County
They
so
have
we
it-
can be a desirable place to live.
Yeah.
And it's safe.
Yeah.
You know, that has been like one of the, the faltering issues with the county over like the last 20 years.
Right.
Is that there's not enough financial resources for certain technicalities,
Right.
like spousal insurance, or, in the event that, something happens, like let's say an insurance lapse. That
Yeah.
spousal insurance would be something brilliantly to have. Don't know why it hasn't been implemented, but
They took
You
it
know.
away about 10 years ago because they were a self-funded plan. And so they were going over their claims dollars, and you don't have a reinsurance company that can pay that overage. They haven't had a rate increase in the past 10 years. But what difference does that make?
Yeah.
If we go to a fully insured plan, like a big national
Cigna or
something
somebody.
like that, they have a reinsurance plan, and the rates are going to increase every year. Everybody's going to get a rate increase, and that's something that we need to prepare these employees for. But again, that's just part of life
Yeah.
as a whole.
I mean, every corporation that offers any kind of benefits when it comes to health, they're all going to experience rate increases. That's
Oh, yeah.
part of it.
Right.
And
it's no different than, renters happen to, have their rent increased. And it's
Exactly.
nothing to do with you personally, it's
Right.
just that the market has climbed. This is what it costs to manage 30 of these, 2-bedroom apartments.
Right.
Things are shifting upward, not
It's
due
really
to I want,
Right.
but what the world wants pretty much.
can you imagine if we can get spousal insurance and no property tax?
That would be, yeah, I know.
Well, like, that's the one beautiful
That'd-
thing that I've
Hook
looked.
up your wagons and come to Little Rock, by God. Pulaski County's waiting for you.
Of Arkansas, because it's not the state that's the problem.
Yeah.
Faulkner County and Saline County are in the same state. They have less opportunities than Pulaski County. Pulaski County is the capital county. And, you're talking about the urgency that we are feeling right now, like never before. Good leadership being in a county level position. Here's the truth of 4 numbers. I'm going to give them to you. 235,000 registered voters in Pulaski County.
When there's like quadruple that in Pulaski County alone.
No, that's Pulaski
That's
County's
Pulaski
number.
County's number.
235.
235,000 registered voters
That are registered.
that are registered. And even in the high peak time, which was Harris and Trump's election period, there was 80,000 of those voters that sat at home and did not vote. They want to try to take this into a division thing between Republicans and Democrats. Let me give you those numbers. Out of those 235, only 25,000 of them are registered Democrats, 13,000 are registered Republicans. So I'm looking at 196,000 undeclared voters out
Probably
there
independent.
that are independent.
Yeah.
They have not picked a side because they realize at the county level, there's not sides to pick
Yeah.
because
I
we're
deal with
not
legislation.
dealing with legislation.
Yeah.
This is the majority of Pulaski County realizes that the county and city level positions are not politically,
Yeah, we're not talking about gun control or Medicaid or
Maybe.
abortion or things that are, that
Yeah.
are hot topics at the state and federal level. We're talking about who can manage your tax dollars best, who's a proven leader that has shown time and time again they can be successful and do what you say you're going to do. Let's roll into the romance section now.
Yeah, for sure.
This is how I got her to start dating me, because I did what I said I was going to do.
that's right.
And
Well, on my way, I had sold everything. I'd moved into a small apartment, and I was working for a hotel chain that I was applying to be one of their ambassadors and wanting to travel with them nationally and internationally eventually. Because my motto is I want to see the rest of the world. from my own eyes, not from the eyes of a camera.
Yeah.
Unbiased eyes of mine, and spend time with these people and learn about other cultures. I find it fascinating. I want to go to Thailand and Indonesia and Malta and Sardinia, and
I'll be happy to start with Europe first.
he's like, I'm not going to Thailand, and I'm like, yes, you are too. It's going to be great too.
Now, here's the real backstory. Back in 1983,
Yeah,
I met this young lady at, was it Mapleville
it was
Elementary School?
Maple Elementary,
And I had a crush on her in high school. If we were like country neighbors, we lived about a mile from each other, I
Yeah.
guess. And so if I got real lucky, I got to ride home with Marlene
in high school.
in high school. And so, well, long story short, I married my eventual high school sweetheart, mother of my two kids. She had her life went this way, my life went that way. And about 2.5 years ago, she was leaving a restaurant. I was walking into a restaurant. And I was like, I locked eyes, like, hey, I know you. And she, well, I know you too. And then she come around, I gave her a little half hug, and it just felt like something in a movie, like we melded. And so she was leaving. I sat down to eat and I went, I don't even have her phone number. So I had to Facebook her, hey girl, you want to go get some coffee? She goes, I'm busy. I ain't got time. The whole 9 yards. So I was getting ready for a barbecue contest because I do barbecue on the side. And there was a dessert category. And so I made a fresh apple cake recipe.
Which is
And
nice.
it was my first wife's recipe. And it's kind of funny because Renee never drank a day in her life. So I decided to blend a rum sauce with it. So when I get to the pearly gates one day, that'll be one of her checklists of things I've done wrong, which is put booze in the cake. So anyways, I make the fresh apple cake and I'm like, I've got to find a way to open the door because I want to get to know her again.
Because I was like,
Yeah, she's like, I'm good. So she was working late when I was like
I've
10.
been single for over 15 years.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I didn't have, I was like a celibate and a nun. It was like I had dates and everything else, but it was just not right. I was happy being
It was divine design.
It really was divine design.
And I called
wait,
her.
so what was the time period? So you're
This was
late wife.
January. Renee passed away October of 2014 from breast cancer. She was 42 years old. Absolute love of my life. I always told people after that, I said, look, if I never had a chance to find love again, I knew that the good Lord had richly rewarded me for this life. And I couldn't complain because I had the real deal. I know people that have been married 56 years. You can tell it's ho hum and they're just together. But I had the real thing. And I knew I did. And I knew how blessed I was. Oh, she refined me. I'm domesticated. I cook, I clean, I shop.
I think back to myself at 20 and 30 years old, there is no way I could have molded this man into his. I know for a fact. I was a driven, very driven
career lady.
Career lady. Yeah. I mean, there's just no way.
So let's get back to the cake because I like eating. So I called her up at 10:30. I said, hey girl, you want to try my fresh apple cake recipe? She's like, sure, whatever. And I bebopped in that hotel at about 10:45 with fresh apple cake. And she's like,
he did what he said he was going to do. That was impressive to me. And that opened the door for the next time, he said, because what he does is he has all the love languages, not to be. And the Lord, a couple of years earlier, not to be holier than thou, had said to me, I'm going to give you a man with all the love languages. And I thought he was talking about my daughter. He was going to give her a man with all the love languages because I literally had, decided what I was going to do with the rest of my life. And then in he walked with all the love languages, which makes life easy. There's no red flags at all. And it's like, there's never a time we're in competition with one another. We're a team, always. And regardless of what comes at us, we still sit down together as a team and go, okay, how are we going to deal with this? It's
like that saying, it's always you two versus the problem instead of you versus them.
Yeah.
Now I'll say this much. I never had another alpha male in my barbecue pit. So that was our first disagreement on how we're going to cook the food for competition.
But he's so great. He's like, I'm going to go walk around for a minute.
I know who the boss is. I was like, yes, dear. Whatever my darling wants.
I have I am more analytical and logical minded. And so I have a book of how we do things. And I need him to follow that book.
No, when we're doing barbecue meats and stuff. Oh, yeah, it's about that thick.
Yeah, because
Tuesday we're this, Wednesday we're this, Thursday we're this.
so if I have to pick up where he left off, I need to know where we're at, and
Yeah.
vice versa.
Well, we just had that happen after our wedding, got back from the honeymoon. I, for some reason, had a low grade fever the whole week.
Yeah.
Well, we did the barbecue. We've done it for many years. And we went down there to get started. And by 9:30, I was just still. I thought I could do it. She's like, you got to go home.
He looked great, and he was like, I could not get him to make eye contact with me and reconnect. I'm like, you need to go home, really and truly.
So I went home, and her and the team stayed behind, and she came third place in ribs and fifth in chicken.
Oh,
So
nice.
she's a killer. Don't let her 5'2" demeanor get you. She's a killer. What do you like to say? Please underestimate me.
Underestimate me. Go ahead.
Maybe I have to give y'all a shot at my title one of these days.
There you go.
I'm from barbecue country. That's
Wait a minute, from North Carolina?
Yeah, Charlotte.
Hold on, son. You got too much vinegar in that sauce, baby.
Hey, why do you think we put coleslaw on our stuff?
There you got to cut it with something.
A typical Carolina pulled pork sandwich
Mhm.
is your signature sauce as a barbecuer, you know.
Right.
And then you got your coleslaw, you got your baked beans,
Right.
you got your pickles, and you got your sports peppers. I personally make mine with sesame seed buns. That
Oh.
honestly, it holds the flavor.
Mhm.
It draws out some of that stinginess.
I got you.
And so
Because you just take the whole pork shoulder and chop the whole thing, don't you? Yeah.
So
the
question.
thing is, with my meat, I don't do 24 hours. I do 72.
Oh, wow.
I will slow cook it in the ground, and that's
Old school.
Yeah.
Oh,
There you go.
I
So-
do it that way because like even whenever like as I'm an avid huntsman, so you know I love to hunt, you know, wild boar and whitetail elk. So like for me, I love going out on a fresh pig hunt, and I would take the pig, I would gut the pig, clean it, skin it, and I will stuff my pigs with like apples, oranges, mandarins, cherries.
Kind of like you might do turkey for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like for me, I smoke the meat with those fruits.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And so underneath it will be a bed of like apple and hickory chips.
Yeah.
With all the fruit in it. And then I let that pig cook for about
Well, that'll help
48
take
hours.
the gaminess out of it too.
See, I like the gaminess.
Do you? Not me.
I'm so weird like that. Like for me, I actually will package my hog jaw with the fat and everything still in it. I love the way it comes out and tastes.
Uh-huh.
It's like you know, for me, you know, I'm used to East Coast seafood. I'm used to saltwater fish.
Yeah.
And then coming out here, you take a blue catfish out of the Atlantic and then take a river cat, you know, like a channel catfish. They are not the same fish,
No,
my friend.
no.
No.
And it's funny because we were eating years ago down off Daytona Beach
Uh-huh.
at a restaurant, and it, you know, they were cutting up the day's haul, and there was all those saltwater cats just looking for the scraps. And I said, "Man, look at those catfish!" I said, "We don't eat that trash around here." I said, "Back home, that's a delicacy. Ain't here." I was like, "I don't doubt it because you
Yeah.
bring it in fresh from out there."
Yeah.
But let's go back to the relationship.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were.
It's a big sidetrack.
I know, right? You know, that's a fat guy problem right there. But
Do not have to tell him that.
I know.
Well, that's kind of how our relationship worked out. You know, I mean, we never thought we would ever meet each other. You
No.
know, we tell everybody, you know, we divorced our abusers.
Yeah.
You know, I was on the flip side of domestic. You know, it's not, you know, you don't really hear about men going through DV because we don't speak up about it.
Right.
You know, and that kind of ties in, you know, with what you're trying to do with, you know, the resources being made available
Right.
medically
Right.
for the great people of Pulaski County.
Right.
The declining rate for mental health disorders
Oh my
and
goodness.
issues is, I mean, it's taking like a plane nose diving into the ocean.
Right.
Well, I think
You
after
know.
COVID, I think that affected a lot of people. But
Well,
so speaking of like, you know, your spouse, you know, passing, I've always thought about like we wanted to also have a conversation about also just a simple question. When it came to grief in your marriage, like how did you deal with that? Was there another occasion where you had to deal with grief and you were already married to her, or like how did you deal with that?
No.
No.
We've had, uh, it is such a blessed divine connection that the Lord gave us with one another. It was like there's not a day that goes by that I don't have one of those aha moments, which is, aha, Lord, that's why you taught me that. Aha, Lord, that's why you took me down that path. Because in our relationship, in our political whatever, in our work that we do together, it all is an aha day, and there's no doubt that we're walking on the right path. When you're 20s and 30 years old, you're like, many times, if you believe in a higher power, you're like, Lord, am I on the right path? And am I doing the right thing? Am I making the right decision? I don't have those days anymore. I mean, we're over half a century old, and granted, that's not old these days, but we still feel old.
Well, I just looked to like I'm 206.
You know, but it's like, it's a different kind of relationship that we both have grown children. We both have, Abby's and Zach, and he has Zach, but we both have an Abby. Renee and him were married on my birthday.
Oh wow.
Unbeknownst to everybody.
That's
So
fun.
when we
That's
started dating, we're
wonderful.
like, wow, these things are lining right up. What's going on here?
Huh.
You got to go back to your question about grief. Obviously, I had to deal with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And
That made it
I'll say
complicated.
this first. My kids were, I think, 15 and 12, 16 and 13. I wasn't a good mom. I used social media as my therapist. So when Renee had her last 2 months, I would 3 in the morning. The good Lord, you're gonna have to fix this because because I knew my friends and family would reach out to me. Unlike a licensed professional who I don't know, who's going to do their job, I knew that my friends and my family would say loving things that would really resonate with who I am to support me up. And so after she passed, it was a tough road. And how I got through her funeral is I treated it like a production. I did the soundtrack. I done the eulogy for almost everybody in my family. So I wrote her eulogy, but I knew I couldn't perform it because the one reason people would have me do the eulogies is because they know I can keep my emotions in check. One of the worst things you can do trying to eulogize somebody is someone who loves them so much they can't get through without just feeling their own
Yeah.
vulnerabilities and crying.
Yeah.
You want to be able to perform it, let's say.
And
Mm.
celebrate.
So I'm sitting there and I've got people must thought I was praying the whole time because I had the outline in the pew in front of me. So I'm always leaning over watching to see where we're supposed to be at. And so yeah, it was kind of cute. But no, it took me a while. It took me about a year and a half, I think, to finally push through. And what got me through, one of my friends had told me that he had lost his daughter to cancer. And I was like, I can't imagine that. I mean, I lost the love of my life, but I can't imagine losing a kid.
Yeah.
And I said, how did you deal with that? He goes, Mike, I figure that God gave her bonus early, and I'm still here trying to earn it.
Mhm.
That's
That
good
one sentence
statistics.
from a friend of mine pushed me through to the other side that I knew that I could live again. And I told my kids, I've been codependent since my mother birthed me. And so I told my kids, I've got to go out and eventually meet somebody because I can't have these four walls coming in on me.
Yeah.
But yeah, the dealing with depression and mental health, if you're blessed like I was, you've got strong family, strong friends, fraternal outreach, the whole 9 yards. So I was very blessed to have those resources available. But I do understand not everybody does.
Mm.
And so, thank God for the support groups that are out there. The citizen, like you mentioned before, when you had the ICE thing, the citizens came together to help one another. At the core, at the core of everything, you've got to have the humanity to help another person.
Right.
It can't be about, I'm waiting for the government to save the day. If you can help somebody, help. Take care of you and your family first. That's your most, you can legislate morality all day long, but unless you have a
Try to.
good somebody at home teaching good lessons, you're going to have those problems to start with. But if you can get a good group of family or friends, good associations, these groups that reach out like Alcohols Anonymous, all these groups that are there to support one another, those are so crucial.
Oh,
They
yeah.
really are. They are so crucial. I could sit here all day long and try to lead from the front on whatever the issue may be, but I'm telling you right now, it comes down to human contact.
Right.
We are human beings and we have to take care of one another.
And that leads me into the blue zones. I know this seems off the topic, but what he's saying is what the regions that are out there, there's like 6 blue zones in the whole world. And what these are countries or areas where people live happy, healthy, fulfilled, quality of life lives for well over 100 years old. And when you look at the common denominators of all of those areas, all of those regions, what he's talking about is prominent in all of them. I mean, there are some other issues like them being islands and being less, brought in product and stuff like that. But that right there, that unit, whether it's a community or a family unit, they are tight knit and they have constant support that's that's totally reliable.
Right.
And that's just the geek in me looking at those kind of statistics. I'm just like, this is what we have to have. We have to promote unity.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I'm part of the human race.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, that's the only race out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's like in our rental
Yeah.
business. My dad used to always say the only color we see is green. I think
Yeah.
was it Martin Luther King that said, "Don't judge a man by the color of his skin, but the content of his character."
Yeah.
And that is so true.
Mm-hmm.
All these things that we get wrapped up in, when you strip those away and get down to the core, that's what's important.
Human race.
Yeah.
And if we can stop debating our differences and start talking about how to solve problems together, that's what we're all about.
Right.
Unity,
Right.
stability, because that's going to produce stability.
Yeah.
That's going to eliminate fear, because as you already know, if you both said you divorced your abusers and you found each other, one of the prominent things in abuse, whether it's physical or mental or anything else, is fear. And when you see that behavior at you, you need to know what that looks like, and you need to know how to keep this safe.
Yeah.
I don't need fear in my life. There's nothing that I should fear. I don't fear death. So why should I fear anything less trivial than that will, just be hard.
So going back to your love story,
Yeah.
what made you say, or how did you ask her out, like officially?
That's not for public discussion. No, we just started hanging out, and we really connected. And what was really unique on the front is we connected intellectually. We were, as she calls it, equally yoked. And we were able to have in-depth discussions, and we knew what the other person was saying.
Yeah.
And that's where it all started. She had me at hello. Look how beautiful she is. I was like, hey, what am I gonna do?
You did mention she was, you met her before when you were growing up, so I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We went to elementary school,
Junior high, high school
together, and then just went different ways. And then so when we ran into each other,
so she wasn't really your high school sweetheart, but she was kind of, you knew her all your life.
Crush.
Yeah. So,
but I did end up meeting Renee. That was kind of cute. Renee was the quiet, conservative Christian girl. I was a loudmouth jock. And everybody's like, when I said I'm going to ask her out, they're like, there's no way she's going to go out with you, dude. She's a good woman. You're a mouth. And the funny joke is I had to bet her $20. I said, listen, Renee, if you'll go out with me, and if I'm not a gentleman, I'll give you $20. And she finally said yes. You're like her, she's like, no, 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 no. So she finally said yes.
Yeah.
And then, we were supposed to go out Saturday, October 27th, 28th. It was going to be our first day.
Renee.
Friday night, Mills High School's playing Pine Bluff. I ended up having a brainstem injury. I got hit real hard in the head and about killed me.
Oh, wow.
Renee came to ER that night, and she never left my side for 24 years, 360 days.
Yeah.
Until breast cancer took her home.
Wow.
So that was my first love story.
Yeah.
We bounced into each other, and everything started coming together. Our motto became take it slow no matter how fast it comes. Now, I done told you how intelligent she is, right? She's very, very swift. So a year ago, we were on a cruise. We hadn't proposed yet. And I always go into the Effie Jewelry Store and Park West Gallery because I'm a sucker for good deals and da 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 da. So we go in there, and the lady whose name is Salma from Morocco, she's about 30 years old. She was our sales lady in the jewelry store. And we slipped up and talked about eventually probably getting married. Well, that just opened the door.
They already think we're married. We walk in there looking like we do, and it's
Right.
like,
So next thing I know, she's bringing out engagement rings. She's bringing out, and then she's offering necklaces and earrings and this, and I'm slow rolling it, right?
but
I'm like,
this woman is so good.
shout out to Salmazar.
Yeah, I looked at him and I'm like, did you plan this?
She thought that was the proposal.
I'm like, it was so, and we're salesmen, both of us.
We're like, oh, she's got us.
So part of what came with that is a cruise, a 7-day cruise.
That was the capper. 'Cause I was saying, no, 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 no. She goes, Mr. Rushin, if you do this deal, I'll throw in a 7-day cruise.
Wow.
Now, we closed the deal, and I'm laughing the whole time. Like, we haven't even proposed to one another. You know, well, we're already buying the jewelry. We're going this backwards, right?
Right, yeah.
So I knew she was too swift to catch her off guard. So I had to really be slick to propose to her.
Yeah.
So we went one day during the campaign. It was during Christmas. I think we did 2 parades that day or something and 4 stops.
Yeah, it
I
was.
said, hey, girl, let's go to the Capitol and see the beautiful lights, see the
And
Christmas tree.
And I am tired, but okay.
So we go to the Capitol. We go inside. There's the Christmas tree. They got little alcoves there for you to take your photos. And I said, well, let's take a photo with the tree. And I looked around and said, somebody, would y'all take our photo, please? And there was this dad with his daughter. She's probably 12, 13. And dad's like, no, no, not me. Give it to the kid, you know, the technology. And so I said, go get posed. You know, they got, you know, ladies got to pose. So she gets loose. I go up to the young lady and I said, I need to take 2 pictures. And the second one's a proposal, so please don't mess it up. And then she's like, so I had to jump in front of her so she wouldn't see, right? Because I've got her on the hook. She doesn't know what's coming. And so we go over, we take a couple pictures. I said, let me check them out. I'll look at them again. I said, you ready, kids? She's like, so, okay, let's take another one. I didn't like the way it looked. And so
I
I,
was thinking, oh, look, we've been busy all day long. He's making sure that I'm not showing anything that I shouldn't be showing.
so I get over there in the state capitol, and my big 200+ pound tail got down on one knee on that marble floor. And as soon as I went down, I heard her daddy go, lots of pictures, lots of pictures, lots of pictures. And that kid was like, so, you know, I did it. I caught her off guard, and it was great. And we did the proposal. And so I caught her. It was great because I was able to do it, and I fooled her, and she, you know, she didn't see it coming.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes things so unique is those special moments. You know, if you make $1 billion, you make $2, who cares? These moments in your life are what's the things you're going to remember. And I tell like the youth I've worked with for 30 years, look, I want you to be successful no matter what you do. But when you go to your grave, all you got is your reputation. All you got is who you were, right?
Right.
So make sure you lived a life worth remembering. Don't be that person that's 90 years old that knew they were blessed with certain talents or whatever
And didn't help others.
and look back at a life of regret.
Yeah.
You know, I could have done more. I should have done more. Be that person that said, you know what? I had what I had and I made the best of it. Whether it was this amount of blessings or this amount of blessings or somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
If you can say, I lived a life worth living, then you know you've made a difference. We don't know how many people today on this podcast, how many people we've reached and touched a point that really echoes with them.
Mm-hmm.
And then that goes from them to another person.
Yeah.
And we're making positive impacts on all the human beings that are paying attention right now.
Oh, yeah. I think it's funny that you said that about being equally yoked because that's exactly one of the reasons why I divorced my ex is because, I mean,
He was dumb as a stump.
well,
No, I'm just teasing.
no, it's just like, you know, how you said it was equally, you know, you guys were
Right.
equally yoked. My ex and I was not equally yoked. And whenever I heard those words specifically, that we weren't equally yoked, that was my get out of jail free card. So I was like, listen,
I got to go. Girl.
okay, well, I'm a Latina, and most, I mean, I'm sure you guys know most, Latino families,
Right.
they don't divorce.
Right.
No.
So like, I went against my culture, my religion, because everyone would just tell me, oh, just pray for him, just pray for him. So I went against my religion, my culture,
Right.
everything, just because I heard those words. And so, and I mean, he did mention that, it was an abusive situation, even though it wasn't like his, it was still financial, it was emotional. So it was still it, and I still like we've been together for about 5 years, we've been married too, but there's still certain things that are residual things that we both have to work on because of
Oh,
the
yeah.
abuse that we both
Right.
endured.
Gotta find that
You
balance.
can't let your past,
Yeah.
you can't let your past dictate your future.
Yeah.
What do you always say?
What?
Keep your eye on the bow.
Yeah, keep your eye on the bow of the boat, not the wake, and not the horizon. Because if you're looking at the wake, you're going to get depressed. If you're looking at the horizon, you're going to get overwhelmed. But if you'll keep your eyes on the bow of that boat, you can stay focused and happy and not overwhelmed.
The bow controls the weight, which controls the distance and where you're going.
Right.
You have to get it.
It's the
In plain
trajectory.
English, it's, get a handle on things,
Right.
so to speak.
Right.
Well, it's manageable. I mean, and what's not manageable in life is looking at the past, and what's not because it's not reality anymore. And what's
Yeah.
not manageable in life is the future, because it's not reality. The only thing that's reality is right here, right now.
Right.
And this is the only thing that you have to worry about. Show up for 100% of it as much as you can. And that's hard. It gets harder with more technology and more things coming at us every single
There's
day.
more distractions.
Yeah.
And it's hard to sit still and go, okay, it's okay to sit still. It's okay to not be kicking myself for something I did wrong back then, because it's not reality anymore. It's okay to not kick myself for something that's not happened yet or worry about it, and just be right here and show up and be as present as possible so that I'm not overwhelmed.
Well, you mentioned earlier, you asked a question and I didn't get a chance to answer it. After Renee's passing, I got real big on perspective.
Mm.
So give you an example, when I was trying to, work with my children and having to deal with the loss of their mother, unfortunately, a year earlier, one of her cousins died by a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And so when I would try to relate to my children what we went through, I said, look, your cousins went to bed one night with a daddy. The
Mhm.
next morning they woke up and their father was gone forever. They're dealing with tragedy. Unfortunately, we knew mom was going to pass and we're dealing with death. And I said, does that make sense? And they said, absolutely it makes sense. Even at that young age, they could understand it could have been a lot worse for us
Yeah.
because it was a lot worse for our cousins.
Mhm.
And so I got real big on perspective. Exactly what she's talking about is keep things in perspective.
Right.
Don't get so tied up in all the mess out there. Talking about the bow and looking for, that's been my motto for my life. Here's our goal.
Mhm.
And there's going to be people, they can't help themselves. They're trying to tie you up in side garbage. It means nothing. I'm focused on the goal. If you want to come along for the trip, come on, because here's where we're going.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll address you at whatever it is. I'll talk to anybody about anything. But if I realize it's not beneficial to the goal, okay, I'm giving you your 5 seconds of fame. I need you to, I can't deal with this because this is where we're trying to get to.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So don't get
It's
distracted.
dead weight, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's learning
Well-
to tell the difference between safe behavior and bad behavior, not just words. When someone starts telling me who they are in words, that's a red flag for me. I mean, other than in a political campaign, I don't need you to tell me who you are. I just
Mhm.
need you to let me be around you and behave properly.
So boys and young men out there, fresh apple cake, bring it. Don't just say you're awesome. Do what you say you're going to do. And look what you can have, a beautiful woman.
So, that's honestly how, I knew that she really is my wife, is that in my moment of absolute weakness, she stood beside me.
Right.
That's
She
it.
she didn't run away. She didn't call someone else to talk to me. She stood by me because I understand I'm a survivor of suicide. My brother took his own life 2 years ago. It'll be in October.
I'm
And
sorry.
my only brother, my
I'm sorry.
baby brother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He's 20 years old.
Right.
He left behind my beautiful niece.
Mhm.
And I tell people it's not the action that hurt me and my family. It is the fact that we are still here.
Mhm.
We have to remember.
Right.
And if you are like the ones who found him, you have to remember that's the
Right,
last thing you ever see of that person.
right,
Right.
You know, that's the reason why, we've really dug so deep into the mental health perspective, not just as a community, but as individuals and marriages. And I come to make that a point
right,
when I am trying to marry someone. You have to listen to one another.
right.
Sometimes, like, I'm not gonna like, because I'm very autistic and ADHD. So sometimes I'm saying something,
Right.
but she's not quite grasping it because I don't know how to explain it.
Right.
So it's like a foreign language to each other that only one side really knows until you can calm down to explain it.
Explain it.
Mm.
He's very good. And I always say I'm on the spectrum. Where it is I'm on the spectrum, I don't know. I have trained myself to not look like I'm on the spectrum by not looking at people in the eye and in their face. I have facial, when I'm in a crowd, I can't pick out faces.
That's it.
Mm.
Yeah, and he doesn't, there's no problem with us communicating because I do have a high intelligence level. He does too, though. And being able to
I'm not just good looking.
yeah, no, I'm attracted to intelligence. I am most definitely. And speaking of that, I mean, he's the only man in my life ever, other than my own father, that I've been able to respect. With that respect, I have trust in him. I have never been that woman that got in the car without her purse or anything else with anyone. I will with him without thinking about it because I know he's got it all covered. I know, and I'm okay being in my feminine energy
Mhm.
with him. I'm okay being in my masculine energy and when we're cooking barbecue. But, but as a whole, this is the first time in the first relationship I've ever had that I know that will last the rest of our lives. And I feel safe
Mhm.
because he has no red flags. And that's what you can't, if you can pass that wisdom along to a 20 or 30-year-old or even 40-year-old, that's what I want to do because I don't have to learn from my mistakes. I'll be happy to learn from your mistakes,
Yeah.
if you'll let me, if you'll share them with me.
I'm
And
sure he had some in the past, but I think Renee might have moved them out of it.
She took the oh, yeah.
definitely did. I mean, there's never a time when we have to ask one another, we partially finish something, the other one finishes it. It's not about keeping score or anything else. So maybe that's something that happens when you're over half a century old, but I don't think so. It's very new and very refreshing and calming, and there's always a safe space to come back to.
And with all the trials and tribulations that we've experienced in our respective independent lives,
Right.
that when we came together, it had honed us. Again, we could tell we were equally yoked mentally,
Yeah.
but all the things that shaped us our whole life, the good and the bad, helped us to come together as mature adults,
Right.
being able to realize that you don't get upset over these trivial things. These
Yeah.
are trivial things. You
Yeah.
can
They're
focus
going to
on-
matter when you're sick and saying your last words. You're not going to be thinking about those.
Yeah.
And
Well, that leads me to our question that if you're a frequent listener, you probably always hear this question. If life was a lesson, what would you say it's been teaching you using one word or phrase?
I think mine would be perspective,
perspective.
keeping things in perspective. I don't know. I got some things that popped in my head because I just used it. So
What would be my one word or phrase? Divine design. I don't know.
sometimes it's hard to just put it in one word.
Yeah. I mean, divine design is definitely
That's her big catchphrase.
yeah.
But it's so true too, you know.
And I'm not to say that mine's the only life that's divinely designed. But that perspective, getting in that perspective is not easy to get.
Yeah.
We could do a whole podcast with my Aunt Lois. I'll show you some divine
Oh.
design. I've got some stories on when she was 83 years old, not to tie it up too long. I got her to literally put pencil to paper
And it's a beautiful story.
about her relationship with God and the things that she had experienced in her life. And she wrote it all down. And I typed it all up, put it on the hard drive, and I've still got it. And I read it every once in a while. And it's such an amazing story. Eventually, I started to try to act like I was a novelist and start putting a book together, which, obviously then I started running for office and that sidetracked it. but it is a beautiful story about divine design.
Yeah.
And how the Lord can really reach into your life and make positive things happen. And, it's just one of those things. It's like the whole deal of Renee dying. The backstory, Renee never drank, never smoked, never said a foul word, always went to church, always tested negative for the genetics. And so it makes you bang your head against the wall. Why, when we were talking in church, I said, she's a much better Christian than I think I am. So why does she catch the bad diagnosis? Why do good things happen to bad people?
Mhm.
Why does it appear some prayers are answered, some are not? And I keep things real simple. And I think I told them back then, I said, maybe God put us on this earth. He gave us the good book to live by. And maybe, just maybe, he lets Mother Nature take her course sometimes. Because again, her situation made no sense. There was no reason for her to get breast cancer.
Yeah.
Nothing was there to cause it.
Mhm.
And but then again, like I said, on the back end, my buddy said, hey man, God gave her bonus early.
Early.
And your knucklehead's still here trying to earn it. I said, you know what? That makes a lot of sense because of the ultimate goal as a Christian,
Yeah.
not get too deep, but as a Christian, our ultimate goal is to get to heaven. Like my Aunt Lois, she was 93, 94. I wish the good Lord just come on and get me. And I said, well, Aunt Lois, quit taking those medicines the doctor gives you. What do you mean? I said, well, they're keeping you alive. You want to get to heaven. Hello. And I remember she going, and okay. And,
Yeah, he can take care of, the fact that we're here, we're only here for one reason,
Yeah.
to be conduits of his love.
right.
I mean, it's like the old saying is good morning, child. I got it all taken care of. Go have fun throughout your day and be kind to one another. If you take it in that perspective and realize he's already done all the work. We're
Mhm.
here to be united. We're here to be kind to one another. We're here to figure out the problems in front of us in transparency and communication and in kindness.
We're here to be the human race.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, any last words before we close it out?
It kind of goes back to
It-
there's something that people should remember. I like to call them the 3 Ps.
Mhm.
You need to remember perseverance.
Yep.
You need to have prosperity.
Mhm.
And you need to have patience.
Yeah.
Those are 3 main factors you need to have in life. Just because, a lot of people confuse the word prosperity with riches and gold.
Right.
Prosperity is rich in happiness. There, like I said, but it's just like, I believe, no, it wasn't Sam Jackson. Who was it? There was a famous actor that had made the comment at a college graduation. Don't matter what you do, where you are, where you're going, where you're from, you'll never see a U-Haul behind a hearse. You
That's
won't
true.
ever see it.
That's true.
That's right.
So,
That's
for
a great
people confuse,
perspective.
prosperity with riches, the only thing you should be rich in is happiness and love.
Right.
Because there's 3 main points of your life. While you are alive, there are 3 main points. You have the past, you have the present, you have the future. You need to remember the past. You need to be thankful or grateful, I should say, for the present. And you need to look toward the future. Because that time and that clock is just ticking.
Right.
But I could go home right now and choke on a chicken bone.
The sands of time are running low.
Like, and people want to say, "I'm angry at God. I hate God for what He's doing to me in my life." God even tells you, I believe He starts outlining this in 1 Corinthians about going through these troubles, or not even really troubles, they're more or less obstacles, a guide. He does this to test your faith, your perseverance, and your strength.
Exactly.
It is what molds you. Right. He is testing his theory of the human race and what he has done, what he can do more to help guide you.
Right.
But if you're not willing to listen and read. I'm not saying you have to read the Bible, all day long, every day, it's a lot of reading, but you do need to read at least once a day. Open up, get the Bible app. It gives you daily messages to read. Do a Bible study for an hour on it.
Right.
Or involve some of your friends for coffee in the morning. Hey, let's talk about this, because every marriage is centered around him. Not you, not me, not Jimmy, Joe, Licky, and his 7 cousins. Him.
Right.
He is that center.
Right.
So if you don't have him centered, what do you have?
Right.
You have nothing.
Right.
You have zero. And I will stand on that.
Mhm.
Despite what any other culture, religion, we don't have a religion with God. It's a relationship with him.
Exactly.
Right.
I agree.
He is just as real as he is sitting in front of me, as real as that TV is sitting there, and as real as every city, state, province, and country there is on this land.
I remember I was at a meeting and they asked us a question about something, and I said, I was trying to make an example. I said, how many Christians we got in the room? It was a faith and freedom deal.
Mhm.
A whole bunch of hands went up. I said, all right, how many of you are Catholic? How many are Episcopalian? How many are Lutheran? How many are Church of Christ? How many are Baptist? And then your hands popping up. We can't even agree with what the Bible says. How are we going to agree on this other issue here locally? And the house are going, oh, okay. So, yeah, I get it, man. I totally get it. And we really appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast.
Sure.
So for more information about this is my radio voice. For more information about the campaign, go to rushiontoserve.com or follow us on Facebook at Rushin for Pulaski County Judge.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we definitely want to mention all of our sponsors. We do have upcoming events with Dave and Buster's. We are going to do speed dating, and we're going to do car shows twice a month. So
Be looking forward to maybe having Mike and his wife back on, even after, the campaign is over, win or lose, we still want to keep having them as, usual podcasters with us, trying to, I guess, teach an old dog new tricks. We, for those who are in, the Pulaski County or just the Arkansas state area itself, take the time, do your research, know about what we are discussing in here, and maybe take the time to look into his campaign and see about the remedial change that he's trying to bring to Pulaski County, because there's not enough, individuals at a city level all the way to a federal level that are doing enough for our communities. So, we definitely need more people like that are willing to make that change, not just for the greater good, but for many generations to come.
Absolutely.
So you guys be sure to keep tuning in for more of our podcast. We're going to be doing some more here very soon. Catch you later.
bye, everyone. Have a good month of June. See ya next time around, and make sure if you haven't followed our we expanded to 3 other states, and so if you haven't already liked our Learning Idiom Facebook pages, we expanded to Tennessee, Oklahoma, and Texas. And so make sure you like our new states pages on Facebook. And then all of our TikTok people, definitely want to shout them out. We appreciate you. And if you're interested in being part of the TikTok world and don't know how to navigate it, definitely let us know. Take care, everyone. God bless, and peace be with you.